This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
On the previously scheduled Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels, where everybody is good looking and can bench press at least 225.
Yeah, I feel like I've spent most of the weekend glued to my monitor watching the live stream.
Con. Ah, man, that gives me tired head reading that.
You know, I'm wondering if at this time next year, the internet's going to go into uproar when they announce the reshoots for episode 8.
There's reshoots? What have you heard?
That the movie is largely unusable and that, 60% of it was blurry. It's a big panic. But,
well, who we got here? Billy D. Williams.
Whoa!
Lando.
Yeah, I got the hardback edition.
I happen to be able to meet Peter Mayhew.
I'm a huge fan of Disney World, and I've been there quite a few times in my life.
And I got the Chewbacca graphic novel.
It's revealed to be none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, that was so great. He's such a great character. And beside the fact that we saw in the comic, I believe, at Chiss, a little while ago.
I was actually a Pantoran, but yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Well, you've seen one, you've seen them all, right? Whoa. Then we had the skinny dip story with him. Apparently he felt comfortable enough to go diving off and swimming with whale sharks. Yeah, the green lightsaber made me feel a little weird at first seeing it, but I really, really, really get excited when I see these things.
Jen Erso, Felicity Jones was presented with the first Jen Erso action figure by Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah, that was so neat. Yeah, and it looked pretty good from what I saw.
Lord Helmet, what? You need it on the bridge, sir. Knock on my door. Knock next time. Yes, sir. Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good.
So we do these car rides to Wales, which would last about 90 minutes, and I did the whole script. Holding her is dangerous. If word of this gets out, it could generate sympathy for the rebellion in the Senate.
I have traced all the spies to her. Now she's my only link to find their secret base.
I'm chuffed to bits. Am I saying that right?
As far as I know.
All right. It's good to be a Lord of Chaos.
Greetings, scoundrels. Here's the rundown of what is coming up on episode 8 of the show. San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone. What's a good con without some Star Wars news? We'll cover some of the Star Wars stories coming out of San Diego. Taxis has found a guest that will give us some behind-the-scenes stories from Star Wars Celebration Europe. It is sure to be Celebration coverage like none other. The latest novel in the Star Wars canon is Chuck Wendig's Life Debt. Taxis and I will discuss the follow-up to Aftermath and this week's Hypothetical. The Star Wars community is buzzing about the return of Thrawn. We answer the question of who else we would like to see appear in Rebels. It's our own brand of Star Wars coverage with the most interesting Sith in the galaxy. This is Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say I really don't think
What's going on here?
The song?
Among other things.
The disco ball?
The Wookiee.
Oh, yeah, him.
Is that Chewbacca?
Yeah. He heard that we were going to discuss Life Debt and wanted to be on the show. He says it's his favorite book, and he's really happy about it.
Well, did you tell him it's a packed show and we might not have time for a guest? Even one of his stature?
Have you ever tried to say no to a Wookiee? Besides, he says it reminds him of good times with his lifelong partner and best friend, Han. After his death, Chewie used this song to carry on.
That's a touching tribute, but what is he doing?
He's dancing the traditional Wookiee dance of glee. Oh, he's waving his hands in the air like he just don't care, Dennis.
Okay, and what is that he's wearing?
It looks like sweatbands, leg warmers, and Leia's clothes from A New Hope.
It looks like a ridiculously small miniskirt on him. Why is he wearing all of that?
He says Lando got Han's wardrobe in the will.
Of course.
Yeah, look at him go.
What's the chair for?
Looks like he's about to... Yep, homage to Flashdance. You go, Chewie.
He's getting wet hair all over the place. And it's a little pungent.
He's very sensitive to criticism, Dennis. Oh, he wants us to join in.
I'll pass. Wait, where did you learn to speak Shriwook?
Well, I was taking dance lessons at the Wookiee Dance Studio. Okay, here I come. Watch us go. Funky chicken. Water sprinkler. Saber slash. Now we're ripping off droid arms. Ripping off droid arms. Cabbage Patch and Running Man.
Are you having fun?
This is fun.
Well, tell him we have to start the show, so it's time to turn off the music.
He doesn't want to stop, Dennis, and neither do I.
Texas. Well, we do have a lot to do.
Okay, I'll ask him. Mr. the Wookiee, sir? Oh, okay, Chewie. Dennis says we have to start the show now. So, may I turn off the music, please? See, Dennis, you just have to know how to ask.
I guess you do.
Welcome back, good SP1s, to the podcast that is the revolving, unsecured, high-risk, low-rated, and collateralized credit line of Wookiee life debts, just poised to burst your bubble and crumble the economy. I am neither a borrower nor a lender of all things Darkside, Darth Taxis, and with me is the collection service to my outstanding liabilities, Dennis the Phantom Menace Keithley. Dennis?
Wow, way to nail a theme there, Taxis.
I like to nail themes.
You do. So we've got a lot coming up on the show today, and I don't really think we have much time to waste, so let's get right on over to the news.
Let's do it.
All right, so now it's time for the news. We are, of course, past Star Wars Celebration Europe, and we've just had San Diego Comic-Con, so most of the big news has died down, but there are a few newsworthy items. With that, Taxis, take it away.
Yeah, this is the cool down session of all that news workout we got last week, right, Dennis?
That's right.
All right. First up, remember the original trilogy Star Wars marathon that Alamo Drafthouse was hosting and then pulled the rug out from under us, making small children cry? After delays arose in ticket sales, the event is back on. Shows start in select cities starting August 6th. Remember, this is a limited engagement. Get your tickets before they sell out. Tickets can be purchased at www.drafthouse.com/events/Star Wars with a little hyphen in between the Star Wars. And, okay, this is a little closer. Let's see. Show start. So they got the tickets up right now?
Yeah, the tickets are up right now. There seems to be plenty of seats at least left for the shows I checked on in some of the cities. It just hasn't received the publicity now that this is back. They had the whole thing ready to go at the end of June, and at the last second they pulled the plug on the ticket sales, and I just haven't seen anything prior to. I just had the thought maybe we should check it out, and sure enough, you could get tickets today. So it seems to be that there's plenty of seats left, but I wouldn't count on that lasting for long.
So we should go ahead and grab ours real quick before we air this.
I don't know. I'm still considering this. As fun as it would be to do the marathon, was moved. The Dallas showing, I think, is a different weekend than it was originally, and it's not working out with my schedule as well as it once did.
Yeah, I'm kind of in my busy season too. Yeah, I might not be able to make it as well. But
Right. Well, in collecting news, at San Diego Comic-Con, it was announced that Jaina Solo has won the 2016 Hasbro Black Series Fan Choice poll. She beat out other characters such as Skykiller and The Force Awakens Luke Skywalker. Hasbro also released images for upcoming additions to the Black Series line, which includes Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, an Imperial Guard, Lando Calrissian, a Tusken Raider, and, wait for it, Hera Syndulla from Rebels.
Pretty woman, walking down the street. Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet. Pretty woman, I don't believe you, it must be true. No one can look as good as
This spot I had specially reserved for this one Jedi who truly deserved it beyond any other. For this Jedi became a skirt-chasing drunk. But as I sat back allowing satisfaction to set in, I realized there was still one element missing to complete the statuesque version of a wolf picture jigsaw puzzle fixed with glue, framed and hung in crazy Aunt Debbie's condo. For what does every washed-up, womanizing, force-using booze hound need in his life? A smoking hot girlfriend to enable him and prod him to violence against an ordered society. He needed Hera. Toy monkeys at Hasbro, you know what you must do. Make us Hera.
way back in episode Drool of Two, Scoundrels, Texas.
But when she puts her arms around me, I can somehow rise above it. Yeah, man, when I get
Yes, yes, yes. To all those that doubted the power of my soliloquy, behold, behold! Dennis, I think I can officially now declare a stop to things happening.
That's good, because that was something. Something was happening.
Things were about to just happen right now, but thank Bogan, I declare to stop.
So, okay, you're going to pick up Hera. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
What about the other additions to the line?
I got my eyes on the Qui-Gon and the Imperial Garden. You know, I don't know, man. I might have to grab all these. The Lando, especially. Is that going to be in the classic Landonian garb?
The Landonian garb. Nice turn of phrase.
Oh, thank you.
It looked like his Bespin City or Cloud City uniform. The picture I saw.
Hello, what have we here?
Right.
That stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a big Black Series collector. I think I have 4 or 5 from The Force Awakens. So I don't know. I'd consider a couple of these if I happen to see them out and about, but I never see them out and about. So I don't know.
Well, just a side note, you know, just to clear inventory, I saw that the Walmarts has any of their Black Series on there discounted down to about $14, and I was able to find a little TIE Fighter.
Oh, nice.
Pilot. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So that's just a side note. If you guys are anybody's wanting to buy out a bunch of those Constable Zuvos or even some of the excess fins, you know, to corner the market, they're at a good price now at the Walmarts. Yeah, but the Hera, that's a big news. That's a big. I'm really excited about it. All right. There were a number of character reveals for Rogue One at the San Diego Comic-Con. First, 2 characters received names. There's Pow, which is an alien with a large mouth and has goggles resting on his head. He can be seen in the Rogue One sizzle reel from Celebration. Second, there's Bastan. This is the famous space monkey that was seen in the sizzle reel. In addition to the two character name reveals, a new character made its debut. This was Edrio Two Tubes. I'm going to say that again. Edrio Two Tubes. Edrio is a Tognath from the planet Yartogna. His world has been conquered by the Empire, and he and his egg mate, Benthek, have allied themselves with Saw Gerrera to fight against the Imperial rule. He gets his name from the two tubes that run into a breathing apparatus. All right, so, bits and pieces coming out, pouring out. I know some people were hoping that there would be a little more reveals at San Diego Comic-Con, but, hey, Space Monkey's name, that's a good one. And we know Saw Gerrera's got a team, got a crew.
Right. Yeah, I kind of think the reveal well was dry after Celebration Europe. I know there was a number of other opportunities to partake in Star Wars at San Diego Comic-Con. They were giving out preview versions of the Ahsoka novel coming up, and they had other opportunities to see some of the new merchandise and things. But hey, with Celebration just having been 2 weeks ago, I can't imagine that there was a whole lot that they could have saved to do there, or that they couldn't have done at Celebration. So those are nice reveals, because everyone had been talking about the Space Monkey for a while. Mm-hmm. Pow wasn't quite the showstopper that Bastan was. So hey, getting a name, that's good news.
Did you see the Plo Koon alien display?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I think I saw a picture of that. I think Jawa James had taken some pictures, and that was one thing that I cued in on, was like, whoa, that looks like the kind of Plo Koon type mask and aperture. What's the name of that species again? It's kind of escaping me. They're on the New Republic, or the Old Republic too.
Let's see, Plo Koon. If I consult the character encyclopedia, we find out that he is a Keldor.
Ah, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
It was on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't quite spit it out.
I couldn't remember. They're starting to flood us with a bunch of different alien names. It's kind of hard to keep them all together sometimes if I don't have anything, the book in front of me. But yeah, so that's pretty exciting news. I'm really excited about Rogue One. I think it's in great hands, and really looking forward to good things.
Yeah, they've really blown out the news on that in the past month and a half, and went from really what was mostly a blackout to turning the hype machine up to 11. So
awesome.
Well, that's a brief look at this week's news. So, Texas, apparently we have another guest that won't come on the line while you're here.
Yeah, that seems to happen a bit. So, okay, I'll just give me the signal and I'll be back. What's the signal again?
You'll know it when you see it.
There you go. That's just fake enough to work.
And now I have the dubious honor of welcoming our returning guest, who says he witnessed behind-the-scenes Star Wars Celebration Europe activity and has what promises to be some shocking revelations. Once again, to protect their identity, they've requested that we only refer to them by their codename Deep Breath. Deep Breath, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Peter.
It's Dennis.
The recent events which did unfold upon those who were in attendance of the Star Wars celebration of the Europe are sealed into my head.
Yes, well, thanks for coming back.
It began like any other convention would. But Anthony Daniels was passing out pizza that had been blessed by forming a pepperoni image of the George Lucas when it happened.
Okay, what happened?
It was also something dramatic. It was so hard for me to tell the tale.
Well, take your time if you want.
The grandmother, Carrie Fisher, rushed up to the crowd gathered enjoying the Robo Pizza. She She had eyes of fire, and her hair was as if the god had donated its hair for charity, and it ended up upon the lady's skull. She was dragging around the disheveled J.J. Abrams by hair glove and screaming that they took her puppy, who is Gary the dog, and is actually a stuffed bunny rabbit named Stan.
What could have happened to Gary the bunny dog?
I cannot speak to that.
But I thought that...
She was in such a fit of panic and confusion that she began kissing the JJ in between threats that he would be her new the dog and that he should have cast her in the Cloverfield movies.
Cast her as what?
The JJ told her he'd be a good rabbit doggy, and he just wants to make more of the Star Treks. It is a well-known fact that the Carrie Fisher played the role of the planet Vulcan.
Okay, I have to look that up on IMDb. Huh. How about that? Well, if that's true, wow, they really did a good makeup job.
At this time, there was a mighty roar, the likes of which has never been heard before in convention land. It was the Alan Tudyk.
He what?
I can't say. He hears me all the time with his Alan Tudyk ginger mind waves of power.
He sounds powerful.
I must speak despite the danger this conversation might bring me. He fell from on high, like an avenging angel empowered by all the ghosts of the canceled television shows of the Fox TV, landing upon the Carrie Fisher and causing the head of J.J. Abrams to evolve into a higher form of movie film being. Using the natural buoyancy of the Carrie Fisher, the Alan Tudyk leaped upon my shoulders.
Well, that sounds pretty acrobatic.
Yes, it was. He then made me dress up into a shark costume.
Wait, while he was on your back?
It is so painful to recollect, but his powers are great, and his shark costume is shark costume. He then took off all his clothes and made me parade him through the halls of the Star Wars of the celebration and announced to all the attendees, "All hail the Aquaman, King of the Six Seas," as he threw mackerel and herring at random cosplayers.
What about the seventh sea?
It is a little-known fact that Aquaman does not claim dominance over that part of the ocean due to a large population of the porpoise who are driving down the property values.
So he's a fishist.
Technically an aquatic mammalist. But as he hit the attendees with his barrage of pistis rage, he yelled at each victim, "Where is your flipper to save you now?" He then began searching for one who was the looking of the Mars Canada. He finally found her at the podcasting stage for the Blood of the Hat with a co-host, the Jamie Hickey.
Wait. That sounds like it might be... It could be the Kate. I mean, Kate DeBinko. She was our guest a couple episodes ago. What happened next?
I cannot speak of this. It is too difficult.
Too difficult. Okay, I understand. Do you want...
Saw the Kate Mars, and with the largest herring in his skinny dipping power, began flying towards her with all his mighty Alan Tudyk birthday suit speed.
Oh, poor Kate. Okay, this sounds serious.
At the last moment before he unleashed his fishing doom upon her Kate head, the one named Jamie jumped in front of her, his mighty ruby beard absorbing the Alan Tudyk until they imploded from the sheer world-altering power of their natural red hair, blinding all who witnessed it with a crimson light of infrared doom glory.
Are you saying...
I cannot speak to this.
Poor Jamie.
No, there is nothing else I can say.
Look, you've come here. I have to know what.
You have compelled me to speak. I took the opportunity to get away, but it was not long before I encountered another being of equal terror, the Jang Wang.
Oh, yeah, Jang. He's going to be in Rogue.
He blocked my escape and began whispering to me dark secrets.
Dark secrets? Oh, he did, huh?
Yes, he did. He told me Rosebud is the name of a sled in the Citizen Kane, and that Bruce Willis was a ghost through the entire movie, and that the Qui-Gon had the noble end, and the real fate of the Ahsoka Tano.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
He led me in his broken English gallop to a secret room. From the inside, I heard the strangest sounds, like a whale swallowing a cow that had swallowed a whale. I begged the Janwin to tell me what lay behind the door, and strangely, he would not tell me.
That's kind of a departure from earlier.
Then he slowly opened the door and revealed to me a horror beyond all horrors. There, in the room, laying upon a hospital bed, was an extremely obese Ahsoka Tano. Her legging must have weighed at least 3 or 4 Ewoks each.
Are you sure you saw?
She was not alone.
Oh, good lord. She wasn't?
Yes, she wasn't.
No, wait. Okay, I'm confused.
There with her was the gay Filoni. He was force-feeding her the Meiluran fruit pie from out of his rock and roll cowboy hat and lighting her unfiltered death sticks for her. All the while he was laughing maniacally and telling her, "It's time for more character growth. It's time for pie." She looked right at me, her eyes pleading for help. But all she could do is yell, "More please, Mr. George Lucas Jr." I had to avert my eyes and break away from the Zhang Wen. As I was running, he yelled at me, "It's people! It's people!" I must go now. I can say no more and live in constant fear.
Deep breath? Hello? Deep breath. Are you still with us? Well, I guess he's gone.
Hey, did I miss the fun again?
Texas. No, I wouldn't call it that.
Yeah, let's just get on with the hypothetical.
Last month, Chuck Wendig's Aftermath, Life Debt was released. A sequel to last year's Aftermath, Life Debt tells the story of a crew of the Halo. Led by Nora Wexley, this team hunts down Imperial officers and brings them back to the New Republic to stand trial. However, their mission soon takes a twist that thrusts them into a larger adventure when Princess Leia approaches them and requests that they track down her wayward husband Han Solo, who is in turn looking for Chewbacca. So this is our Life Debt review. Off the top, I would like to warn everyone that there is going to be most likely plenty of spoilers here. So if you haven't had an opportunity to read this novel, you probably want to skip ahead about 20-25 minutes and rejoin us then. So overall, off the top, Taxis, what did you think?
All right, well, I know I'm not alone in this. It did feel easier to jump into than the first novel because we already know the characters. They're established. I felt like the story flowed a bit better, and I liked how they interacted together as a team. You know, each one. There were elements where, again, it kind of felt like a role-playing game adaptation, you know, because of that. But the story is the story, and you got to kind of establish the characters for what their skills are and what they do, As far as the story itself, I enjoyed the story. I thought that some of the tension was good between Leia and struggling with the realities of the New Republic. That was great. I felt like Han was kind of portrayed. That was one thing I felt was a little off, because I kind of felt like he was out of character in a few spots, and especially kind of the crotchety old man Han, when really this is like kind of still in his prime Han.
Okay.
And I felt like there was some phraseology sometimes that just wasn't very Star Warsy, if I could use that word. Like it was kind of modern. Like, for example, there's a couple of times where they'd say where the phrase used. I think Sinjir typically used it, saying like, because this, like as his reasoning behind having alcohol, because alcohol. And I know that's something that's kind of a popular phrase. I know I hear the kids say it all the time, because this, And I was like, it sort of like begs the question, even when the use of the word etc. in there, should we have Latin?
Well, okay, that didn't bother me too much, just simply because I think that's the overall direction that Star Wars is going anyway. I felt like Episode 7 was moving the vernacular of Star Wars away from something that was a bit more traditional to something that was a bit more current, especially with some of the things Finn would say. But my overall thoughts, this is the Star Wars book that I was hoping for with the original Aftermath. I thought it was a much easier read. It's in the present tense, the same as the original, and it just it didn't seem quite as choppy. And I like the adventure story. I thought it moved around quickly, and it seemed like it had a lot of Star Wars action. But let's tackle a few of the elements here. First off, we have a new character who was kind of introduced as a shadowy figure at the end of the previous novel, and that's Gaius Rax, who kind of gets a bunch of different titles, whether it's Fleet Admiral or Advisor to Grand Admiral Ray Sloan. He seems to be the new mover and shaker in what's left of the Empire, and is the one with the plan. What did you think of Rax?
Well, okay, I kind of felt like the plot was a little too complicated for all the behind the scenes movement for us to not really see what was moving behind the scenes. Like with some of the things that unfolded that he had, After Effects said, aha, I planned it like this, It's like, I'm thinking more like in the prison situation. Okay, so are we saying that those people were placed there and then had that thing done to them, or were they, or was it there something in there already that he kind of took advantage of and modified? How exactly did he pull all that planning off? It felt a little Palpatine-y without somebody having all the massive force and dark side skills to foresee the future and all the movements and everything like that, like Palpatine did.
Sure. I kind of got in a way, I enjoyed his scheming as much of maybe, I don't know, on the same, in a different way about as much as I did with Palpatine's. And here's why. His was through mechanisms and, not so much I foreseen this through the Force type of a thing.
Yeah.
He had these rebels that were captured and kept alive in a facility, and he left breadcrumbs for Han Solo and other rebels to follow to, here's the guy you have to find in order to figure out how to get into the prison. And once you got into the prison, it wasn't a cakewalk. It was enough to make everybody believe what was going on. Sure, the timing is a bit fortuitous, but this was all leading up to the peace meeting on Chandrilla at the end. But don't forget, he was monitoring the whole thing, so he had an opportunity to decide when to approach the Republic about this peace meeting. So yeah. I read it through the first time, and having gone back through it again just recently to kind of take some notes and go back over the little structure, I thought it fit together pretty well. So no, who do you think he is? Do you think he's, a lot of speculation out there that he's Snoke. A lot of speculation is that this is someone we're never going to hear from again after this book.
I think I gravitate more towards that side. I think we're going to find. I think, I was kind of, because it felt like that a little bit, like, oh, are they setting this up to be Snoke? Like, but, clearly Snoke's a Force user, right? Mm-hmm. And I just don't, maybe they're hiding it intentionally, but for some reason, I just don't get the vibe with this dude. I think he's just a charismatic leader that kind of has a cult-like ability to seduce people into doing what he wants, like with Sloane's aide de camp,
Sure.
But, and just how creepy he is too. I did enjoy the creepiness. I have to say that, but.
Well, I like the character. I agree. I don't believe he's Snoke. He's got some definite intrigue around him. Big spoiler being that he was recruited personally by Palpatine after he board his ship.
Yeah.
We'll get to more of that here in a second. But let's turn to Rey Sloane. I thought she was fantastic in this book. She's really turned out to be a great new addition to the canon of Star Wars with the reset. She first debuted in A New Dawn. She's appeared in Kanan, and she was in the original Aftermath, and now this. And I think she's really different than many of the Star Wars villains. The stodgy old Moff and the cunning, calculating general or admiral who sees all, knows all, or the self-interested government official that kind of picked up the power after everything fell apart with the Emperor's death. What did you think about her inclusion?
Oh yeah, I love her as a character. In fact, one of the things I love about it is that she's not super awesome, perfect, cunning, cruel Imperial who knows everything that's going on all the time and never seconds guesses herself, Right. Even back the Star Wars Insider story where they went back and kind of showed that she was on the ship with that one Republic trainer. I'm not sure if you read that or not, but where she figured out that he was trying to, destroy the ship because Vader and the Emperor are on it with them. Mm-hmm. The same type of character kind of comes through, Right. She's not out for vengeance or hatred or anything like that. She's out because she believes in law and order, and in her mind, that's what the Empire can give better than the New Republic. She's kind of the belief that people should be free, but they should be controlled.
Right. Yeah, she's extremely driven, and she doesn't tolerate the behind the back scheming type of attacks, and she takes it very personally when she realizes that she was being used by Gaius Rax there at the end to stage that attack on the leadership of the Republic. So she's a great character. I'm interested to see what she'll be doing in the third novel of this series.
Yeah, because they left her off with a vendetta, and I like that.
Yeah, well, let's turn over to some of the heroes of the book for a moment here. You brought up Han Solo earlier, but I want to start off with kind of the leader of the team, and that would be Nora Wexley. She's leading the squad, as I mentioned at the beginning, that they're tracking down Imperial deserters, and they're bringing them back to the Republic and putting them on trial. And right off the bat, they have a lot of trouble with their first mission in this book. But there was a plot line that it sounded really familiar with Nora, and that was as we were moving through this book, she and Wedge kind of started a romantic relationship, only for her husband to emerge from that same penal facility on Kashyyyk, and so she was. So she kind of had to call to a halt this relationship she had going with Wedge. If that sounds familiar, the same thing happened to Wedge in Legends. He started a relationship with, her name is Ayala Wasiri, I think, if my memory serves correctly, only for Ayala's husband to emerge from Imperial captivity. And wouldn't you know it, he too just happened to be an Imperial sleeper agent.
Wow.
And so I don't know if Wendig was familiar with that story and decided to borrow it from Legends, or if someone on the story group came up with that, or what the decision was there. But poor Wedge can't catch a break no matter what continuity we're talking about.
I know nobody remembers him for destroying the second Death Star, and unlucky at love. But I'm fine with that. I thought, I kind of thought whenever Wedge was making his play, I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, she's kind of a single hot, go for it. And I gotta say that when Brenton came back, I was like, oh man, I really hope you die or something.
Yeah,
in the future. So I was rooting for him, but Nora, kind of get over yourself. Get with the program. It's been long enough. Quit revisiting the horrible traumatic moments where you were flying a starfighter. You won. Just, I don't know. That kind of beats me down a little bit rereading those sections, but I understand why she needs to be a character. I'm kind of hoping, sort of like with Sloane at the end, she's now kind of vendetta driven, and she won't be all like, going into this next one. She does she is who she needs to be, but it kind of gets to the point to where it's like, okay, Temmin understands, and that thing.
Yeah, the family drama there got a bit tiring. I understand it seemed very realistic with Brenton having been in captivity and that stasis for so long that he'd be having all those nightmares, and it'd be hard for him to relate to his family again.
Oh, that was good. I really liked that. I thought that was really, really. I thought that was actually a good part. I just was a little. Like you were saying, I was just a little, okay, we've been there, done that with the whole Temmin mom, teenage boy angst thing.
Right. Well, let's talk about someone else here for a second. One of the more popular protagonists of this book that I've heard a lot of people rave about is Sinjir, who is the former Imperial officer who's fallen in with this team. And, in the last book, he kind of had a hard time deciding where he wanted to be, who he wanted to be. And now he's a little bit more comfortable being part of this team. I think it's because he's found a home. He doesn't disappoint here.
Yeah, I really like him a lot as a character too. He's got demons, he's got ghosts. But the thing is, he's realizing that he has to be comfortable with those demons, And I think that I really enjoyed his internal struggle with what he's really good for the greater good, and it bothered him, but then at the end he's just like, you know what, whatever the reason, I got these skills and I need to use them, and he does. So I really enjoyed his character. I really enjoyed the development throughout this book of him.
One of the hallmarks of the original Aftermath was the frequent interludes, which told stories of things that were happening in other parts of the galaxies. Life Debt continued that tradition for this trilogy, although it didn't have nearly as many of the interludes. Yeah. And the ones it did have seemed to be more significant, and many of them picked up on stories from the previous book. I was personally fond of the Tatooine stories, where the Rancor trainer finds himself being handled by a local gang, and he after he stumbles upon the injured Sarlacc that the Jawas are pulling supplies and things that this monster has recovered, and then he gets rescued by a man wearing Mandalorian armor, who's the self-proclaimed leader-in-law of the what was it what they called? Mos Pelgo, or Freetown, which is kind of a new community emerging on Tatooine. Did you have a favorite interlude from this book?
I have to say I really enjoyed that one with what's his name, Malakili, is that his name? And because he really felt like he had some hope, like, whoa, there is something else other than just being a bad guy, so to speak. I've got my own free will and I've got my own destiny that I can try to form out of this. I liked that. I also liked the I can't remember the planet, but I really enjoyed the news media in the middle of the war zone scene. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that was a Trace Kane on the city of Benjai 10 on the planet of Nag Obdur.
Yeah, I got really upset when her Trandoshan, what happened to him. And because I liked him as a character from the other interlude, too, in the previous one. I thought that was kind of a cool concept of Trandoshans, just kind of like, hey, bud, I'm just, camera operator local 128 here, just kind of a dude, because we always think of like Bosk or something with that. Somebody it's like mean and Trandoshan, it was kind of cool seeing one just kind of interact and chill with everybody.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Maz Kanata makes an appearance here. I thought she had a good interlude. And then I was also partial to the Alderaan flotilla. They're sitting there in the space that was formerly occupied by Alderaan, and they're dodging asteroids and trying to decide as a community of surviving Alderaanians what they should do. And then apparently Princess Leia and then a comic book favorite, Yvonne, have pulled some strings, and they're hauling debris from the Death Star to them to use to make a starbase or something to kind of occupy a new place in that solar system. I was glad to hear Yvonne's name, and she does show up later in the book, which is great. But that whole theme from the Princess Leia comic is now carried over. That they're trying to do things for the Alderaanians. So that was a favorite interlude of mine.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of poetic justice. I thought that was neat, and I too was very happy to see Yvonne back.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of get to our final thoughts then here. Overall, like I said at the beginning, this was one of my favorite of the new books that have come out since they reset the expanded universe. I thought the Han Solo story was great. I know, despite some of the distractions of the language, I really liked the story of how he set out to free Kashyyyk. I like to see that Princess Leia was in this book a lot. It was great to get more of the original trilogy characters in here, and so we got a better idea of what they were doing after Return of the Jedi. I understand that when the original Aftermath was released, they didn't really want to talk much about Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, who was, other than mentioned, entirely absent from this book, because they didn't want to give anything away from the movie. They wanted to maintain some mystery. But now that we've had that movie, it's great to see that they're going back and telling us more about these characters again.
Yeah, I thought that the one thing that, just stuck out to me was just, I did love the liberation of Kashyyyk. I thought that was really cool. That was well done. Loved it when the Wookiees, of course, go nuts. Kind of reminiscent of Revenge of the Sith. And I thought, though, it's just like when they were in the prison ship, Han kind of screwing things up when that machine, when the ship computer is saying, you have 3 chances to get this right. And Han's like, give me back my buddy, okay, Han, you're supposed to be cool and streetwise, and you're yelling at the computer when you can tell that this is a trap. I felt like he's smarter than that. He's just not the kind of guy that would say something like that, no matter what his emotion was, Sure. I know he's headstrong and jumps into stuff, but he never did stuff stupidly, And that was something that really stuck out to me. I hate to be a naysayer. I'm not saying that, because overall, look, it's a great book. I recommend it. Read it. I'm just, if you want me to be picky, I'm going to be picky, But as far as anything else, I enjoyed the book from start to finish. It was action packed and it was fun. And plus, you get to see finally the Wookiees get out from under the thumb of Imperial slavery.
All right. Well, there you have it, the official SQ Pod review of Life Debt. And listeners, we'd love to hear your opinions of this book. And so please send those to us at sqpod@retrozap.com.
And do you want me to just keep running? I went ahead and put a marker.
What?
Oh, we can just keep running if you want.
Well, I was going to say, did you want to go back and do your intro that you didn't do about the that thing?
That's okay. Well, we got enough shtick in this.
Okay. Oh, I need to get my notes for the next segment. Just a sec.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Yeah. All right, second hypothetical in 3, 2.
The wishes of Star Wars fans everywhere recently came true when it was revealed that fan favorite Grand Admiral Thrawn would be coming to Season 3 of Rebels. That got us thinking here at SQ Pod, what other characters from the canon or legends would we like to see make their way to Rebels? Therefore, we present our top 10-ish characters that we would like to see cross paths with the crew of the Ghost. Taxus, you can have the honors. Who is first on your list?
Okay, I'm going to pick an Imperial, and I'm going to pick Wolf Yularen. I know he was a favorite in the Clone Wars, and I never really kind of considered him much until I started reading about him and realizing that he was also on the first Death Star, in white there. So it kind of makes sense since he's, at this time, he's part of the Imperial Security Bureau. And especially if you've got Agent Callus, who we really haven't seen much of after that one episode where he and Zeb were marooned. It would make sense that he would be part of whatever operation there is to capture the rebels in that region of space. And so, I think I'd like to see him.
That's a good choice. He would, they could always use plenty of Imperial officers. I mean, they tend to be kind of going with either one of the big bads, whether it's the Grand Inquisitor or Darth Vader, one of the other Inquisitors, or alternatively, they go with an officer who's not necessarily the brightest. Right. It's prey to Jedi mind tricks. So, that could be a choice. My first choice, I'm heading to the Kanan comic, and I would like to see Janus Casimir, who was Kanan's mentor until they parted ways, show up and, I don't know, maybe give Kanan a kick in the pants or something. But that storyline was closed, but not necessarily all the way resolved, and I'd kind of like to see those two run into each other again. And especially given that Kanan is blind now, see how that would go down.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him kind of chastise Kanan if he was having a little pity party or something at any point, Right. But yeah, that's a good pick. That's a really good pick. Okay, I'm just gonna go all in on this one. Again, in the vein of Imperials and tied with what we're leading up to. Why not throw in Director Krennic?
Sure.
He's going to be a big player in Rogue One. Obviously, he's a big player in the development of Death Star. And can we agree that at this point in time in the storyline, that the Empire and probably the Emperor's foremost thought is the creation of the Death Star as the ultimate weapon to an extension of his will and power over the galaxy? So if he's really important to that story, then yeah, let's bring him in. That'd be kind of fun. And plus you could kind of do a little bit of a setup for Rogue One at some point.
Yeah, well, that would be a good tie-in, and it would probably be one of the better tie-ins. I get the feeling that the crew of the Ghost and the crew that is going to surround Jyn Erso in Rogue One really aren't probably going to have an opportunity to cross paths. Because I kind of get the feeling that, I don't know any spoilers. I don't know anything about the background of that movie, but so take what I say with a grain of salt. I don't have a source. I kind of get the feeling that Jyn Erso is pulled in off the streets and that a crew is formed around her, and maybe composing of, with the exception of one or two people that just aren't part of the rebellion. So, Director Krennic, if you want to do a time, that would be a good way to go. I'm going back to the current expanded universe for my next pick, and I'm going with someone we just talked about, and that would be Admiral Sloane, Ray Sloane.
Oh, yeah.
She was first introduced in A New Dawn, which, for all intents and purposes, was the introduction of Kanan and Hera to the Star Wars universe. It takes place before the Rebels series, which she was Captain Sloane. Then she had her own Star Destroyer. She's shown up in Kanan and confronted Kanan. At that point, she was Admiral Sloane, and now she's a big player in the post Battle of Endor days. So, we knew she was looking after and trying to hunt down Kanan. So I don't think it would be unreasonable to believe that after she had her meeting at the end of the Kanan series with the Grand Inquisitor, that she might still be continuing that pursuit, especially now that the Inquisitor is gone.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense because in Life Debt, she makes reference that the only reason why these people are in power, herself included, is because they are survivors. And survivors only because they're in the kind of flung off far reaches of the action. So something has to happen to kind of get her, I guess, assigned somewhere where she's not in the thick of it. You could have a little storyline with that. Yeah.
Okay. What do you got next?
Okay. I'm going to go with Crix Maydeen. And, we know that even back before all this, we knew that he was a former Imperial. He's got commando organizational skills, and he's very critical in the Battle of Endor. I would love to see him kind of worked in someplace because he was always one of my favorite. I think he is a fan favorite as well. In fact, referencing back to Life Debt, I was a little concerned about his fate, but yeah, so Crix Maydeen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take a turn from the direction I've been going there, and my next pick is going to be Admiral Akbar. Rebels, so much last season, after they were a ragtag bunch doing their thing for Lothal, became them becoming part of the larger alliance. And at some point, Akbar and the Moncalls and Home One all get sucked into this movement. So I think it'd be perfectly reasonable to see Akbar's arrival and see how he integrates into the Rebels and what it is that brought him in to the Alliance.
Yeah. I almost said Akbar too on my list, but that's a good pick. I think that'd be a fun storyline, especially since he's got firsthand knowledge of the Clone Wars as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did he and Rex crossways ever? I'm trying to remember that story arc.
Yeah, I can't remember if Rex was there or not. But I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next I've got General Dodonna, and probably for the same reason you picked Akbar. I mean, he's again a critical character in A New Hope. He's a general, so at some point we're going to need to see the larger organization of the Rebel Alliance, and I think he should be part of that, at the very beginning. I don't know his backstory, especially I don't know anything that's canon, but it could be he's not even part of the Imperial military at this point and retired, and it's sort of like, hey, comes out of retirement to help out, but yeah.
Right. No, he would be a good addition as well for the same reasons that I just mentioned for Akbar. I think he would fit equally as well. Well, for my next pick here, I'm going to head over to Legends, and this is going to be my Legends addition to the list. The obvious one would be Mara Jade, but I'm not going with her. Dave Filoni already mentioned that she was highly unlikely at the Rebels panel that they had over at Celebration Europe, but you're bringing in Thrawn, and his right-hand man was then Captain Pelion. He eventually became Admiral Pelion, and he was kind of a disciple of Thrawn's. And now we've moved Thrawn out of time from being a character that really emerged after Return of the Jedi to a character that's entering the saga before A New Hope. Captain Pelion was in charge of the Chimera, which was the ship that Thrawn primarily used. I would like to see Pelion. I mean, he was a good character. He kind of became the conscience for the Empire after Thrawn's demise in Legends. I don't know exactly where you would use him. I think my hope would be if the comment that Dave made at Celebration, which was they have an opportunity to tell stories for the crew of the Ghost beyond A New Hope, that maybe if they do that, Pelion could resurface after A New Hope, that in that part of the storyline, and that he could come into the story then and maybe pick up wherever Thrawn leaves off. I don't know what Thrawn's fate's going to be in Rebels, but I don't suspect it's good because we never see him after the movie. I know everyone says about the Crew of the Ghost too, but anyway.
Yeah. He could be, but remember, he could have been given a critical mission somewhere in the Outer Rim, and that might be, it could be very close to the original Timothy Zahn concept of him just missing the action because he was out in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
doing a secret mission, and so that's why even the Rebel Alliance missed him. Although it's going to be hard for the Rebel Alliance to miss him now because they'll know that he exists. And
Exactly.
So, okay, that's a good pick. Oh man, for my last one, I really wanted to pick from the trifecta of Piet, Veers, or Ozzel. And I think I'm going to pick Ozzel because he would be a good fool, so to speak, that has who has connections to maybe throw a wrench in the Imperial's perfect plan to capture the rebels. Something goes wrong, and he's the reason why it goes wrong.
Right, and it could be some background to the line. He's clumsy as he is stupid. So that's a good thought. I do like that addition. There's so many Rebel and Imperial officers that show up in the course of the original trilogy. You wouldn't want to bring them all in, but bringing in an Akbar or bringing in a Dodonna and bringing in a Piet or an Ozzel, that just adds some flavor to the series. It wouldn't be a bad. You don't have to give them a major part. It could be a Lando type of appearance. Here every once in a while. But for my next pick, speaking of Lando, I'm going with Lobot.
I had my finger on him earlier. Yeah.
I still think we can see Lando again. I think he's a resource for the Crew of the Ghost. At some point, the activities of the Lando comic have to intersect with the timeline of Rebels. And we know that Lobot was in Lando's orbit during that period. So, I think maybe a post-Lando comic Lobot where he's kind of in his computer mode, helping Lando do something would be an interesting addition to the Rebel story.
Yeah, it would be.
Right. Well, we got a few extra minutes here, so maybe let's go through some honorable mentions. Was there anyone else on your list that we haven't mentioned so far?
Well, I was going to say there's a plethora of bounty hunters, but since we have the Mando storyline, I was going to say, why not some Boba Fett?
It's funny. I had an entire category on my list. The next one was bounty hunters. And I put on that, and you could pick any one or multiples of these. Bosk, IG-88, Forlom, Zuckuss, and then maybe from the comics, Chanath Cha, Black Chrysanthemum. I added Dengar, and then, of course, from Clone Wars campaign as all possibilities. I left Boba Fett off for a reason, and that's primarily that I think we've seen him recently enough in the Star Wars comic. He was kind of brought in as one of Jabba's henchmen. I don't know how he would necessarily fit in with a Rebel story because he's not really acting as a Mandalorian there.
Right.
So they've kind of gotten rid of that backstory from the Legends universe. But you bring up a good point with bounty hunters. I mean, Darth Vader used them in The Empire Strikes Back, and he seemed to know how to call them or get their attention. And, it didn't seem like things were so desperate that it'd be a one-off type situation there. So, maybe he puts out a call for bounty hunters and some collection of these guys show up to take their stab at the Crew of the Ghost.
Yeah, IG-88 would be a good pick out of that because that would be kind of creepy and droidy, Right. Yeah, so who else did you have as honorable mention?
I had Biggs on my list.
Okay, yeah.
We're getting Wedge. I think, it's a little unclear exactly when Biggs becomes part of the rebellion. We're going to get Wedge's story here. I kind of get the feeling, and I don't even know about this anymore. The more I talk about though, I'm a little unsure exactly how accomplished is a pilot. Is Biggs? You know, he was one of Luke's wingmen in the trench run on the Death Star, but he had an air about him that he was a more experienced pilot. And so I always kind of felt that he was senior to Wedge, but I'm not as certain anymore. But I could see him as the series goes on.
Yeah,
that, he would join up with the rebellion and be around at some point.
Yeah, the timing wise, I mean, if it depends on how fast forward they've gone with the series now. But this is probably at least like 2 years before the Battle of Yavin. I'm thinking so, and I don't know if that whole scene where Biggs comes back to Tatooine and is like, "Hey, Luke, you know, I'm all grown up now and going to go to the rebellion." I don't know if that's canon or not, but if that happens, then obviously, yeah, that would be a couple of years afterwards. But you know, Biggs, I think he's older, but I guess he could have gone to the academy in his older years, you know.
Do you have any others on your list that we hadn't got to yet?
There was one that I was really kicking around, but I was trying to think of the myriad of senators or anybody else from the Clone Wars that maybe any of the villains from the Clone Wars that might not be so villainous now. And you know, somebody out there is probably a better expert than me at the Clone Wars. I think it'd be really neat if you brought in somebody who was part of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, who is now part of the Rebel Alliance. And it would be difficult for Rex to kind of come to grips with that a little bit, maybe, you know, something like that. That would be an interesting storyline. Because when you look at the CIS, I imagine a lot of the ideals that a lot of those member states, joined the war for are the same thing that the Rebel Alliance was fighting for.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, kind of along that line, I was thinking Mon Mothma would be. It would be good to have an appearance from her because she's kind of leading this whole thing. She's a key figure in keeping the alliance together, and maybe that could come along when this group of rebels that we see in the show maybe pulls together with another larger group. She could be in the same story as an Admiral Akbar or a Dodonna or somebody, and that would make a lot of sense. Yeah,
and again, I think I went more military with mine because I think this is going a little more military, you know.
Sure.
And you can't really bring in all these Force users because there really shouldn't be that many of them. So
yeah, and I really couldn't think of any Jedi that would have necessarily. I mean, you could make an argument for a lot of Jedi whose fate we didn't see on screen.
Oh, I had Quinlan Voss.
He was on my list too, and that's actually who I was about to mention. You know, we get a lot of him in Dark Disciple, but we don't get his ultimate fate, and we didn't see his on-screen death. You know, in the old Dark Horse Star Wars comics, he lived on and had a legacy after Order 66. So, you know, that's someone I could see showing up, but I don't know how much I like that idea. We've had Ahsoka, and is he really going to make a significant contribution as Ahsoka did?
Yeah.
I somehow doubt it. The other one that was there's really two others I have left on my list. Was Yvonne. You know, also going back to the Princess Leia comic. You know, before she knew the princess, before the Battle of Yavin, she clearly, you know, she had some rebel sympathies. So, you know, it might be interesting to see how she came to the rebellion and what she was doing, if she was a pilot or what her role was with the rebellion before the Battle of Yavin.
That's a good one.
And then the last one I've got, which is kind of the big one and has been the subject of discussion, and he's actually been in Rebels, and that would be Obi-Wan Kenobi. This would have to be handled delicately. We've talked about him and possibly being on Rebels before in one of our news segments on a prior episode. If for some reason the crew of the Ghost had a need to go to Tatooine, I think it could be interesting to see Obi-Wan Kenobi show up. I think the way I'd like to see that happen is he's never introduced as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, he just kind of maybe comes out of the shadows and scares off a crate dragon like he did in A New Hope, or he scares off some Tusken Raiders as they're getting close to their objective or something, and then he doesn't, he disappears before they can really get his name or anything.
Or maybe he leaves them a fine selection of meat and cheese sandwiches or something, and they're pleasantly surprised by the picnic. That'd be nice.
Unsuspecting
But,
picnic ready for the picking?
It would almost be a big piece of fan service to bring him into the show. If they could come up with a great story that would really protect the fact that he's hiding out on Tatooine and there's only a couple people in the entire galaxy that he knows he's there, I think that could be cool. But I have my reservations.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, did you have any others that we hadn't covered?
No, I think I'm tapped out.
All right. Well, again, scoundrels. So what do you think? Do you have anyone that you would like to see in Rebels that has not yet made an appearance? If so, send us an email at sqpod@retrozap.com. We'd love to hear it.
He once jumped an Imperial Star Destroyer using Force lightning. When Darth Vader says he is coming here, Imperial officers, do not worry. He once turned a kitten to the dark side just to create a new internet meme. His creative accounting techniques funded a third Death Star and a home warming party for the Emperor. When he opens his action figures, they increase in value. The banking clan deposits their money with him. At Celebration, he is his own panel. He is the most interesting Sith in the galaxy.
I always drink, and sometimes, when I'm desperate, I drink Dulce Spear. Stay seathy, my fools.
All right. It's time for some listener feedback in.
Silence, fools!
Okay, Dennis. Well, first off, from Twitter, we received this question from a member of my order, Michael Smith. Michael Smith at MJSmith1223 asks this question to us. I asked, do you think Chopper is Ezra's barber? Michael, by Ashla, I hope not. I mean, first off, let's look at Chopper. He's clearly homicidal, and droidicidal. There was a few times where he almost killed Kanan and Ezra, both. Horribly, I might add. So I would think that if he was a barber, he'd probably be the demon barber of, Star Wars Street. What do you think, Des?
I just have this funny image of Ezra sitting in a barber chair, and normally they pump up those chairs for the barber to get a good look at your head, and maybe Ezra having to levitate off the floor with his little booster rocket, and then those little hands coming off from the side of his head trying to use some clippers and scissors to cut Ezra's hair. And trying to make idle chat with Chopper that's in the barber chair. Anyway, I don't know, but Ezra did get a haircut from somebody.
That would actually kind of be a funny little short, where Chopper's like and just shaves off a huge section. Maybe that's why Sabine needed to do a new hairstyle.
Right. Yeah. Shocking the customers he's done with to get out of their chair. So. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, rolling on, we from our friend Andrew in Belfast. He's given us kind of a nice honor. He's put us on a recommended podcasting list for his website, the Astromech Journal, which you can find on Twitter, and you can also Google that and find it as well. But using the hashtag Podern Family, he recommended us, and he's called it his pod racer section for podcasts that are fun, and Brews and Blasters and some others are in that category as well. So that was extremely generous, Andrew. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And I really enjoy Andrew's insight and submission, and he's quite a learned and knowledgeable scholar, I might add. So.
Right. Yeah, he's part of that whole movement, I think, to bring a future Star Wars Celebration to the Emerald Isle. So, into that.
Yeah, I signed that petition. Did you?
Not yet, but I will get to it. I've been trying to at least retweet the link to that every time it comes up.
Yeah, so. That's a good idea. Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, that will do it for our Silence Fools segment. And wow, so we've had San Diego Comic-Con, Deep Breath, Life Debt, Rebels. That was a full show.
Yeah, one of these days, I'm going to insist on talking to Deep Breath.
Please, be my guest.
I'm not sure if it's going to happen, though, so we'll just...
Well, anyway, before we sign off, here's how you can find us on social media. The show can be found on Twitter at SQPod. Darth Taxis is at Darth Taxis, and I can be followed at DJKVER2. We're also on Facebook. We can be found there at facebook.com/SQPod. If you've enjoyed the show, we'd be very grateful if you would leave a 5-star review on iTunes. As any podcast will tell you, 5-star ratings are extremely helpful in getting the word out to others about the show. It makes it easier to find. Plus, we enjoy reading a good review on the show, and we haven't had many of those lately, so we consider a big favor if you did that. And thank you to everyone that has tweeted out they've been listening to the show and retweeted our show posts. That has been very helpful. We saw that in our ratings this past week. So again, that's much appreciated.
Yeah, but we do have plenty of bad reviews about the show, Dennis. So that's okay. They can keep sending those too, right?
Yeah, but I'm not reading those on the show.
No, we're not. So, well, if anything from the show has captured your attention or imagination, or horrified and deeply scarred you, or just left you in a catatonic state of confusion, we would like to hear about it. So email us at sqpod@retrozap.com. The best emails, and quite frankly, almost every single one of them, ends up in Silence Fools. Don't forget, we are honored to be part of the retrozap.com podcast network. Please check out the RetroZap for other great shows, including Brews and Blasters, Blob of the Hut, the Argcast, the Deucecast Movie Show, Dunecast, the RetroZap Game Club, Skywalking Through Neverland, Talking Apes TV, Techno Retro Dads, Trade Federation, We Know Nothing, and Animanicast. Man, I'll tell you what, the RetroZap is chock full of podcasting goodness. You got a flavor for anything that you want.
Yep, there's a lot going on there now these days. All right, I'm going to sum up the important legal stuff. Of course, we're not sponsored with or affiliated by Lucasfilm or Disney. The characters that we've been talking about on the show, with the exception of Deep Breath, aren't ours. They belong to them, and they're intellectual property. The show is, of course, intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Anything that is not covered by the intellectual property of someone else belongs to Starship Sabers and Scoundrels. So there you go. Any final thoughts, Taxis?
Yeah, just a little, CPA advice to everybody out there. If your life debt gets too heavy, you can always declare life bankruptcy.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Starship Saber and Scoundrels. Thanks for listening, everyone, and may the Force be with you.
You can dance if you want to.
We got freedom! Solo to the rear! They know the deal! Step a look about the other!